Liquorland are proud partners of the Sash for another season of footy. Liquorland have all your drink needs for when the siren calls. Jesse, have you been down to Liquorland lately?
I actually have, and it was a classic mix-up situation. The lovely girlfriend requested a bottle of Pinot in the late afternoon. So I've driven down there on a Sunday, looking around the Pinot section, very unfamiliar section for me and my territory. And I picked up a really nice looking bottle, poured her a glass, and it was alcohol-free. So
sometimes that's appropriate.
It is, but not in that situation.
Yeah.
No. So there is great alcohol-free Pinot there for people that enjoy it.
Beautiful.
So be my guest.
Beautiful. Pop into your local Liquorland today and pick up all your favourite drinks. Liquorland, from the land you love. Please drink responsibly. The Bombers are wayward in front of goal. Weed cops a head knock. Packo returns to form, and the Plains get the chockies on Easter Sunday. This is the Sash, definitely not the official podcast of the Essendon Football Club. I'm your host, Rob, here with you, and joining me in studio is Jesse. Hello, mate.
G'day. Bit harder watching Essendon when they play well, and I know that's a very strange thing to say, but I struggle emotionally, and I really did it in the first half. I had to turn off the game at Easter lunch because the family was really getting worried about me being there. So I just switched it off and ate the lamb and tuned back in for the third quarter. Watched the replay, obviously, for this, but gee whiz, it was frustrating for the first half.
Oh, fair enough. And also joining us in studio for the first time this year is Damo Ryan, aka Smart Damo. Hello, mate.
Hello, mate. Plot thickens with you, Jesse. That is odd. We're winning and you're turning it off. But great win. I was there on Sunday. Obviously a little bit wayward, but a lot of good signs and a positive start to be 3-1.
Yep, definitely. Let's just jump straight into things, fellas. Plenty to talk about from the game. I'd like to start in that first term because, like Jess, I was watching from the Easter lunch on the TV with the fam.
Did you turn it off?
Did not turn it off. Luckily, there was enough people present who are quite into football, and I think took enjoyment out of me occasionally just swearing, every minute or so. Or
I was on the phone on the couch whilst everyone was watching the Equaliser, so it was a little bit of a different shit.
Yeah.
What's going on?
So did you see every minute of the game?
I eventually did, yes. I watched the replay later on that night, and I think I might start moving toward a Moneyball Brad Pitt situation where I just don't watch the game until afterwards because I struggle emotionally.
Because it dawned on me you've just jumped on a podcast to review a game that you may not have watched the entire game.
No, I'm not doing a Ryan. Yeah, I'm not doing a...
that was weird.
I'm not doing a dumb Damo.
Yeah, not doing a Ryan. Has done that once before.
The Equaliser.
Yeah, I think there were some people in my family who, at the other end of the table where the TV wasn't, were laughing every time I was getting upset. Mainly my girlfriend and one of my cousins who were talking to each other. And I could hear my cousin go, is he okay? And Sasha's just just don't worry about it.
I'm picturing your hair getting slightly curlier every time. It's like a peacock's
Sideshow Bob
tail standing up.
Yeah, and it didn't help that I was sitting next to a Melbourne supporter, a Collingwood supporter, and a Hawthorn supporter, all of which were clearly barracking for the Giants and were taking great delight in me getting upset. But anyway, look, we played pretty well except for in front of goal. You were there, Damo. I'm sure there was a lot of groaning amongst the crowd, but it felt like we were on top.
Yeah, and I think the concern is when you are a developing side that if you don't take your opportunities in this competition, that can sometimes bite you on the arse. So my concern was Jai Caldwell, I think, missed 3 opportunities in the first quarter.
Space about 2 minutes, just about, yeah.
Yeah, and then so just watching it, you sort of get that nervousness, but it looked like we had the game fairly controlled. I think they got some quick goals like Kelly within the first 20 seconds and Himmelberg. So they looked slightly dangerous on the break, but being there, it seemed like we had that game sort of playing on our terms to a degree.
Yeah, I think they got a nice little jump, first 2 or 3 goals potentially, but then after that,
first 2 goals, and then
it was just one way. It was just one-way traffic. So I guess that is immediately just the good, the positive. The Giants are not a very good side. There's a reason they're bottom 4 in the way they're playing, and if they were going up there and scoring a lot, obviously we'd be having a very different podcast tonight. I guess, as you said, if we were playing, like if we did that against Melbourne this weekend and we kicked 2 goals late in the first quarter, I'm not quite sure if we'll keep the momentum throughout the game. Eventually, at one point, they're gonna wrestle it back and do the damage. So.
And it doesn't do the most positive things for team morale when you work really hard as a unit, as a back six, as a defensive unit, as a midfield, put it forward, and those opportunities aren't capitalised on. So it can actually work negatively in your favour with morale. So I thought it was good. We looked composed, and I think the messaging from the coaches was, don't worry, don't panic, it'll turn, our time will come. And then I think when Langford went forward, Stringer kicked 1 or 2, and they just got the crowd involved as well, which is, I know Scott's mentioned a lot in post-match presses that he really considers us like a 19th man in a way on the field. So, yeah, once they got the crowd involved and the energy started to move a bit more, then the team sort of started to develop a bit more cohesion as well.
What was the crowd in the end?
28, wasn't it? 27, 28?
Yeah. It looked pretty decent in the end
Yeah.
for a Giants game.
Yeah. When the Giants scored a goal, I think there was like 4 people that cheered in the entire stadium. It was honestly the most rattling experience because they scored like within 20 seconds and I didn't hear a peep.
Yeah.
It was insane.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. It is strange. I think the Nick Martin scored a goal late in the first term and I felt like that was a bit of a definitely relief for the crowd, but I think that's the sort of moment where you go, all right, this will come, we'll straighten up. Unfortunately, we didn't straighten up for most of the game. We kept the minute until right at the end. But yeah, he was pivotal in turning that round. Second term, more changes. Sam Wiedemann gets a concussion. I think it was late in the first term anyway, but then he gets subbed out. As you mentioned, Langford goes forward. What does he do? Straight away, kicks a goal. And then, it seemed like to me watching on TV, the Giants had a bit more play in the second term and took control. How did you see it from there?
Yeah, I think they got a bit of a rev up from what I've heard at quarter time for their contested work. So I think the guys like Kelly and Callahan and these guys around the ball and Green, they went to work a little bit harder, but they never looked overly like threatening or damaging. I think it got out to maybe a 19-point lead at one stage. Yeah, but it very much seemed like we're not capitalising, it'll come, rather than like we could lose this. Yeah. And that's not often I think that at Essendon games when we're 19 points down, I'm like, that game's done. But for me, it was very much like we're actually just a little bit unlucky going forward rather than they're outplaying us. Yeah. No, that's fair. Super quick one. We'll obviously go into more detail about this later, but if there's no Wiedemann next week, is it Langford forward or Voss in for you?
Well, it's funny that you say that because supposedly they were playing Voss centre half forward for the first time over the weekend. So they changed his role, which is seeming as if they're in a way either sending a message to Jonesy saying, if you don't pick up your game, then this bloke's going to come in if he's performing. And he had another 6 shots on goal, missed a couple of sitters, but provided a pretty good presence up on the wing. I'm not sure. I think probably at this point in time, they'll give him another week in playing centre half forward. That is Voss. So I don't think there'll be much of a change, really. I think Heppel will come in, most likely.
It'd be a real tough debut. And forecast for Saturday afternoon at Adelaide Oval, where I'm going to be standing, is 10 to 20 millimetres of rain against the D's. So that is not the conditions to debut a forward.
It's not the conditions to play.
I'd also argue that I'd rather Voss with his tenacity over Jones in those conditions.
That's a fair point.
Because I'd say Jones is he just still doesn't look like he's there. And I would have, watching his game on the weekend, he's sort of 90% there. Like he's getting hands to the ball but not holding onto it. He's like doing some things, that's not quite up to standard. So I'd love to see Voss come in because he had 5 or 6 shots on goals in the VFL. I think it needs to be rewarded. And sometimes you just got to throw blokes into the deep end at times. Yeah. because it just for me, Harry Jones needs more confidence.
Yeah.
He would offer us a lot more. I agree with you. Without seeing him at AFL level though, in the wet, then
that physicality
Jones
of
looks
him,
like a giraffe.
and
in
like
water.
he like
the wet.
it's May and Lever and stuff like that out there. So
And Petty, yeah.
so it's not small guys.
No.
So I'd rather someone with a bit of mongrel and like someone that straight lines the ball playing. And it's a reward for effort. It's not as if we're bringing in a mongrel for someone weak. It's like someone that's clearly getting his hands on the ball in the forward 50 compared to Jones, who's not.
Yeah, well, look, I would assume that because Wiedemann probably won't play, Jones is going to be staying in the side. I think for me, it's just Voss comes in, or does Langford go forward? Which way do they want to move it? Yeah, we'll pick that conversation up a little bit more. Third term, I feel like this is, again, we just took more control of the game, just more missed shots. It was just kind of a bit of a repeat of the first, a bit of a carbon copy. This Stringer starting to look like himself. Did you guys see there was an article, and then I think they spoke about it a bit on Footy Classified the other night. So Jake said, I think it was 7 postgame or Fox Footy. Either way, he said in the post-match interview about how he had concussion late last year and actually affected his preseason. And this is the first time I've heard it. Like, this is
Jake Stringer.
This is Jake Stringer, who we all joke about on this show for carrying a few kgs at time, and we laugh about it a bit. But he came out and basically said, "Yeah, I had concussion. It was affecting my preseason. I was running and getting headaches, yada yada yada."
Well, he said he didn't feel right until December.
Yeah,
Wow.
and
So that's like they go back and he went back with some of the young guys. Like he was showing face. That's like early November. So that's that's what 2-3 months post-season.
Yeah. So, look, it's a concern for him. Like, you don't like hearing that about anyone. Brad Scott verified it on Footy Classified and was like, yeah, I've spoken about Jake, but I've never actually spoken about this publicly because he, I didn't want to be the one to reveal it, sort of thing. Yeah, interesting reception that I saw from some people on social media. Like, there's a lot of people who are like, oh, wow, didn't know that. There were definitely a few opposition supporters who've been like, oh, he's lying. He's a dog. He's a liar.
Typical.
But,
Any excuse to put someone down after kicking a 60-metre
I
talk.
love the voice you put on for the opposite.
he's a liar.
He's a dog.
He's a dog. He's a dog. Go Pies. He's a dog. Yeah, go Pies. Yeah. So, look, I was really shocked to hear it, and although I don't feel good about the fact that he had a concussion. I feel better about hearing that as the reason why.
Yeah, bit of relief.
I was like, all right, there's actually something here that's not just him being lazy.
Yeah,
which
it's not
is
a mindset thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
which
exactly
is
right.
which is what's been written about, what we've all heard about, and then we see a performance like that where he has 10 shots on goal, could have kicked 8. Really, there was a couple a bit hard, but end up with 4 goals, 6, and an absolute pearl over barrel, and you go, Jake might get back to where he was 2 years ago again, which is all we want to say.
For sure.
And I think you nailed it there, Rob. It's like our fear as supporters were questioning his professionalism. Like, can you please just come back to day one of preseason in a semi-decent nick, and then you're not chasing your ass, and you've got an interrupted preseason with soft tissue injuries. So spot on. Really, really unfortunate to hear because you don't know what the lingering effects of these concussions are.
Yeah, of
and more
course.
and more research is coming out, and it's a little bit concerning. So hope he's okay. And it's like and also pleasing that the club's taking a really long-term approach with every single player rather than rushing every single player back.
Which is
they
what
do.
Doesn't it really just perplex you as to what the system could have been over the past 5 to 10 years when you see the conservative approach that Brad's taken with the medical group and the players, and how for us as a club for years and years we've struggled with all kinds of injuries, rushing players back, having them re-injured. I mean, you're obviously one of the better people to speak on behalf of matters like this, but it is pretty concerning to think in professional environments that there would be coaches like, Ben Rutten, then that would be the final person making those decisions saying, yeah, just get him in.
Yeah.
And it is sort of that patch up work approach rather than the long-term view.
Yeah, I think probably about three or 4 years ago, I attended a sports med conference that was specifically around hamstrings and hamstring rehabilitation. And Justin Crowe presented to the conference.
Gee whiz, Crowy.
Crowy.
Oh, God.
The Grim Reaper.
He coming with a cloak and dagger,
I booed him from the back.
hiding.
But he interestingly presented to the conference that how Essendon did it was they would assess a player's capacity and their training loads coming back from an injury and then present to the match committee that if he plays this week, he's got about a 90% chance to get through the game. But if you wait another week, the chances of him re-injury are incredibly low, or vice versa. Like if you play him this week and you really need him, he's a 60% chance to get through. So you got a 40% chance that he'll actually injure himself. Yeah. And so they would present that to the match committee. Then the match committee stew on it. Do we risk it? It's our call in the end. It's not the medical call. And so maybe with the changes that Scott's made is the fact that he and a few men have such a high level of control over the match committee now. Blokes like Sheedy or like blokes like Dodoro aren't floating through and adding votes to playing players that might be underdone. Like, we need them. You don't play like you don't get a Ferrari like in the twos, things like that sort of mindset.
Because it sounded like what Brad Scott said on Footy Classified last night was that, you know, there was a lot of people in that match committee last season and, you know, even potentially the season before when Worsop was there, whereas Brad's more like, no, we only need 2 or 3 of us and that's it.
Yeah, and then what was the structure is a vote system then. So it's like Dodoro weighing in on a player playing based off their physical capabilities.
It sounds like a board meeting.
Yeah, and so
democracy doesn't work, Damo. Tyranny, that's how you get things done. You need dictators and tyrants. That's how you get things done.
It's true.
But so hearing that made me understand it a little bit more, but how much weight are you giving the match committee? How much weight are you giving the medical staff? Yep. Where's this data coming from? But what we've seen is like Scott clearly saying we're not setting blokes up to failure. He said it a few times. Like we want blokes going out there and they are 90 to 100%. And I think that's been evident in how blokes have played. We don't have to manage blokes. We probably manage Stringer through the St Kilda game. Or but still, everyone that's played has been fit and firing, and they've had to earn their stripes as well with Tipper going back to the twos, Hobbs twos, things like that. So it's a lot. It's pleasing that the longevity and the future of the club's being maintained by how we manage sort of semi-acute injuries. Yeah, and it's just a good professionalism, I think, to have not only with injuries but also development as well.
Yeah,
like we're all, you know, Scott was asked about Voss and we're all hyping him up as fans and, you know, rightly so at times. But if you're not ready, you're not ready. We're not going to throw you in Jack Watt style and just get wrecked in your first game and just fail your career.
And now everyone is in James Stewart's boat. If you get injured, you come back through the twos because he was like the only player to ever get injured and have to come back through the twos. Yeah. So it's good to see. Yeah. As much as, you know, that's a gag to him and love your work, Stewie, but poor guy. I feel for you, but
he's now the guy. I mean, like he has been fraught, but he's the guy who's always on the injury list where he's just like James Stewart, foot, TBC. You're like, it's been TBC for like a year. What's going on?
I love that it was. Like,
and no one ever talks about his injuries ever. No one almost cares about him.
Last year he had a plantar fascia issue. Start of this year it was listed as plantar fascia. It has now changed to foot. So it's a concern.
Where is he? Like, I'd love to see him getting around, whether it be VFL or AFL. Like he's a big, strong unit. He's a handy guy to have, but he's
seriously
he's an injury enigma.
I think for the given we're on the topic, it's probably worth you having a chat just about Coxie and Reid and their backs. I know that we've had a bit of a chat about it in the group chat, but I know there's a whole lot of supporters out there, including myself, that probably want to know a little bit more from your medical opinion, and I think it's probably worth us touching on that.
Yeah, well, from all reports, it seems like Reid and Cox both have some form of stress response in their back. So bony. So essentially the vertebrae in your lower back are getting too much load and they get quite sore and the microfractures and things like that can appear. So long, lean blokes are really, really high risk. So as fast bowlers in cricket, perfect example, tennis players, like the tall, big serving ones, and also footy players. So Dodoro getting fixated on these sort of project type players that are just like
Beam poles.
but like the ceiling, you don't know their ceiling, but you also their capacity to get to that physically takes a lot of effort for the S&C guys and the medical staff because it requires constant attention because a lot of this stuff.
Jesse, F&C is fitness and conditioning. It's not fish and chips, which is what I thought it was, but it's fitness and conditioning. Just for those at home, just for those who are like...
F&Cs?
Yeah, F&Cs.
I know F&Cs is something else, actually.
F&Cs, yeah.
And I say it a lot of the football when we're kicking behinds.
My mum used to text me saying, should we get F&Cs for dinner? I'm like, don't abbreviate that. Don't abbreviate that. But yeah, so anyway, a lot of fish and chips for Coxie.
Yeah, a lot of fish and chips. So the hard thing, like what happens is they come to the club and everything goes pretty well, and then they tend to start to feel it, which is what Reedy felt first, and then Coxie second.
Ridley had one as well, didn't he, when he first started?
Ridley did, yeah. So there's a frame, like there's a pretty decent stereotype of the blokes that cop it, are the long, lean blokes that need strength and biomechanical sort of movement patterns ingrained in them to stop that load going through their tissue.
Yep. So it's not be all end all doomsday for them. Is there a light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah, well, certainly not like put a line through their name.
Yeah.
But it just requires sort of 12, 24 months worth of adequate conditioning.
Yeah.
For their tissue, their muscles to build up around them. Because it's also very hard for them to put on strength.
Yeah.
Because they've got so much tissue and so much body work to cover. So like, that's why it took Joe Danaher years and years and years and like heaps of food to put on size. So that's the risk with these guys. So that's where I weigh up positives versus negatives. Like, do you pick it someone that's 195 centimeters, or do you go 205 that's a wingman, can play anywhere?
Yeah. Unicorn.
But you got to assess what their medical history is as well, which is hard.
I think as fans as well, like this example I'll use, understand very different injury this guy had. Charlie Curnow was dead and buried a couple of years ago. Like everyone was like, this guy's never going to play again. Look at what he's doing now. So as much as we're all like, oh man, Cox isn't playing, oh Reed's not playing, oh these guys are injured. Like if you're patient with them, there's a future.
They'll leave to go and play at another club.
Yeah, exactly. They'll leave to do it. But like, there's a future potentially in 3 or 4 years where Zach Reed could be the hyped fullback. Coxie could be back doing what he showed us in that glimpse, like when he was playing. So you really just don't know.
Exactly.
They're not going to lose their talent. Like they're not going to forget how to kick a footy or mark it or anything.
Yeah.
And yeah, like if you can get them back to their best, then. Yeah, they might win you a common like.
And you just
Charlie
want to maintain their confidence. So Coxie's probably been whacked around a bit there, but Reedy, we just got to, if we can give them a sustained period of like loading where they can actually just get some time on the track, and whether it's rehab or not, you just don't want flare ups and they get pegged back a few squares and they start again.
That's what happened, didn't it? To I think one of them.
Reed's gone up and down a bit.
Yeah.
Cox had his ankle, and then he's just had this loading stuff go on his back. So it's not doomsday by any means. It's just it warrants consideration when you draft these blokes.
Yeah.
And if you're drafting them with pick 7 and 8, and then Perkins with 9, it's a big risk.
Yep. Great chat. Let's park the injury chat there, and we'll circle back to the game. We spoke about Packo, but while we're on the big men, Andrew Phillips absolutely justified the selection. I thought he was one of our best players, particularly in that first half.
He has been all year,
and
really, he's been a great contributor.
I've pushed it. The 2 ruck works, like
for sure.
A lot of other teams do it, and while Draper, let's be frank, is not the best at getting around the ground, Flip does the dirty work, and
he's so fit. Mert and I was saying it last week on the Monday pod or the week before that. He is just so fit. But aerially, like they're both such a presence in our forward line now. Yeah. Given our tactic is kick to the top of the goal square, no better tactic than having a 212 centimetre bloke down there.
Are they 212 now? Jeez, they're getting bigger every week.
They look like it over the weekend. Yeah. They were taking huge grabs.
Sandiland size, I love it.
Yeah.
I just think in the absence of Peter Wright, it's as vital having those options there. Flip can do the things that Draper can't do. It just means you got an option. It means you're not pushing a guy to do 90% of ruck, which if you look at the other teams in the competition, there's only a couple who do it. Funnily, we've played those teams like Roald Marshall, oh my God, what's his name from the Gold Coast? Wits, sorry. Grundy is now having to do it for Melbourne, which originally they weren't.
I can't wait to see Flip destroy Grundy again.
Yeah.
He's so nice.
I'm
feeling good about him destroying Grundy over the weekend.
I did a number on him a few years ago on Anzac Day.
He did.
It was a 2020 COVID one.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be doing a pod on Thursday with the debrief guys here, with me and Mert. And I can't wait to explain to him how I'm not sure if a ruck tag has ever happened before, but that is what that was.
It was, for sure.
Andrew Phillips bullied Brodie Grundy, and I hope that's what we get to see.
First tagger in history to use his knees to negate someone. And it was allowed.
Yeah, it was allowed. People weren't flipping out about it. But
intended.
He was awesome. Set the tone. We love that. Coaches love someone who sets the tone early.
And they're big bodies, so even in the forward line, huge aerial threats. They both took marks inside, like top of the goal square. I think Draper missed his. I think
they both missed.
Yeah. So unless it's goal square, it's not a goal.
Yeah.
I think I said to Dad, I was like, "Is this out on the full or a point?" And Draper didn't even score, and it didn't go out on the full.
Yeah.
But a huge threats, but they bring it to ground, which is the main thing. So now that we've actually got Davey, Menzies, Perkins down there, it adds a lot more predictability than, say, potential. Like, I know we've been whacking Jones a bit, but Jones compared to, say, Phillips and Draper are two different things in terms of what they can do to bring the ball to ground.
Yeah. Not sure if you heard on the commentary, but the Fox Footy guys were calling him Perkin, not Perkins, so it's just Perkin, which I thought was quite interesting. They're like, Perkin. Another good that I feel like is worth highlighting, particularly because he's been whacked around by us and just about every single person on social media, is our former skipper Dyson Heppel, who came in as the sub and did what he had to do. Like, wasn't a well beater by any stretch, but he laid some good tackles, he used the ball well, and he played. I was like, oh, that's the Dyson Heppel that I know. That's the one I expect to just do the job, get the simple things right and be effective. And had a game at 100% efficiency, which is rare in any football. Really happy for him because I think he's probably had a few tough weeks.
Massively. And I think it's just an idea, but he could be a good sub option for us because of he can go mid, back, and we can move the magnets around. But the other thing is if he doesn't start the game, when he comes on, blokes are going to be fatigued. So that means they're sort of coming back to his pace a little bit more. And he's also not fatiguing as the game's going on. So he's almost getting like a little bit of a head start and starting on par with them. And he doesn't have the expectations of like the build up and things like that. He just goes on and does his role. And there's that's an option. And I thought it worked really well for us on Sunday.
Yeah. No, I agree. So credit.
I've got a good.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was going to throw to you guys. Give us a good.
Shield, how good. He's been awesome this year. He's really flown under the radar from a journo point of view. I mean, we've spoken about him a little bit, but he's almost scored multiple goals in every game that he's played and had upwards of 25, 26 touches. And he just looks, I almost think this could be close to sort of mirroring his best year when he was All-Australian. He's so confident. He's got his side step back. He's navigating traffic really well. He's actually probably hitting targets better than most of our midfielders as well. So I just wanted to say good on you. You good thing. It's great to see us getting some reward again for bringing you in as a player.
There was one, I can't remember what point of the game it was. Maybe it was the third quarter, but there was one centre bounce where whichever ruckman it was just tapped it and Shield got it at literally like top speed, just the perfect, ruck, rove, bang, clear it, and just broke through. And then I think dished out to Merritt or Parrish, who did their thing. And I was like, that's the guy who used to play for the Giants.
Yeah.
Not like the issues that we've seen in the past. And they were saying on the telecast that of all the teams he's played against being Essendon, he statistically played his worst games against the Giants for some reason.
Yeah, right.
Maybe it's gone to his head or just...
I don't think it's a coincidence. It's his former team.
Yeah.
I think it's only
for whatever I can't nail it.
Yeah, I can't figure it out.
I think it's only when ex-Essendon players play Essendon they play well.
They play well. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, he he's putting together a great season and
Looks so good.
I think his probably body's at where at best it's been for a few years because
Yeah.
in all the years he's played with us, I think maybe except for that first year that he had a good year, he's had issues, whether it be hamstrings or whatever else.
He's not also he's I feel at the moment a big deal probably that we haven't spoken huge amounts about is just the presence of what Will Setterfield brings to our midfield combination and how much it is now allowing blokes like Shield to feel it's almost like it's more a mental thing than anything, you know, they now feel comfortable knowing they've got a bigger guy in there and the tackling intensity and the contested work that Setterfield has brought, even over the weekend, his numbers weren't great, but his tackling and he always has 3 or 4 holding balls a game. Like his tackling intensity just lifts everyone else up. And you even see now, you know, 2 or 3 years ago, Dylan Shield would run over the top of a ball and he'd be out of the contest, but he's now turning back, jumping on the ground, trying to smack it to one of our players. And I think just having someone with that ability to bring presence is really freeing everyone else up.
Spot on.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how he goes against what I think will be his biggest test so far this week. Like I know he's played against some
Clary.
Yeah, but like obviously I played against Rowell. Obviously the St Kilda guys were very good against us as well. But you know, Clary, Petrarca, Viney, assuming he's fit and playing, like these are guys who are sort of his, you know, style.
Yeah.
Big body guys who will throw their weight around. And if it's absolutely bucketing down, we're going to need him to keep us in the game.
Setterfield.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I sort of said at the start of the season, I said, don't hold your breath on BZT. I was wrong.
Yeah.
And then I also said that Kingo corrected me on, I was like, I'm not sure many good players that have played for 3 AFL clubs.
Yeah.
I needed to correct that. I don't know many good players that have been like sort of cut out from their clubs.
Okay.
So Tom Mitchell, I apologise.
Yeah.
But yeah, Setterfield, I think, as you said, Jesse, incredible. Like just a presence, but he's calm as well. Like the midfield just looks a bit more balanced. And I think Shield, back to Shield, he could also be a perfect example of the product of a simple game plan. Like everyone talks about our game plan getting a bit more simple.
Yeah.
Their requirements as players to defend is it very clear, but it's simple. So last year, a few years, everyone's talked about they couldn't understand Rutten's defensive mechanisms and the transitions and all this sort of stuff.
The gegenpress, the Ben Rutten gegenpress that he'd adopted from European soccer.
And then like the media came for Parish, Merritt, Shield, all this stuff, but you see a lot of freedom and relaxation in how Shield's playing, and he's just playing naturally within himself.
Yeah.
And that's all Scott wants. And I think it's a credit to the coaching staff and how they've taught this team defence to make it easier on these blokes to actually execute and play within their own style.
Yeah, and there's definitely been times through all 4 games where, whether it be Parish, whether it be Shield, Merritt, those 3 guys who, you know, we all know from the last few seasons, they've all had those moments where you've seen vintage them doing their thing with their best stat, you know, whether it's bursting from a pack, whether it's getting in a good pass or, you know, streaming inside forward 50. It's like, oh, that's what these guys can do. The issue for us over the few years is that there's always been one of them playing well and the other 2 have had issues.
Yeah.
But suddenly it's like, all right, we've brought in the guy who's just can bring him together, settle it down, and then obviously the game plan.
Almost every week we've had each one of them having over 25 disposals, which is firstly unreal. Going back to vintage, most people probably wouldn't see the vintage side of this person's game being their tackling pressure, but Zach Merritt's defensive work this year has also been awesome. Some of the tackles that he's been
He got
laying.
singled out on Footy Classified for a stoppage, which was interesting.
Really?
So there was one
instance where he didn't do something right.
I think it might have been the second quarter, but it was a stoppage close to their our forward 50, their defensive 50, and it was just Kane Corns was pointing out where they were sitting up, and then Callum Ward ended up getting out the back, and they transitioned it out. They got a goal. Callum Ward got it. And it's interesting because Kane Corns was like, oh, that's his man, blah, blah, blah. And Brad Scott's sitting there and goes, well, actually, Ward was playing forward and Zach was on this guy. But yes, Zach did make a mistake, and we actually spoke about it at halftime. And I was like, God, I love you, Brad Scott.
So good.
That was so mid.
Kane Corns and Footy Classified being negative.
Yeah.
You wouldn't read about it.
Wouldn't
in general
hear about
being negative.
Wouldn't hear about it. But yeah, I do know what you mean. There's definitely been an improvement.
Just his, like, I feel because his closing speed is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And when he hits you, for someone that's not big. He's 178 centimeters.
He's dense in his tissue.
Oh, he just absolutely floors people. And it takes me back to 2014 or the year that he won the BNF when we were in the top up year. And he was just monstering at that aspect.
He's
of his
averaging
game.
he's averaging 4.3 tackles a game, which is considered above average in the competition. Not elite, but he's above average, which is all we ask.
We'll take it. We'll take it.
I'd like to see what his figures were last year. They probably weren't anywhere close to that.
But yeah, I think, look, the reason those four guys are obviously getting bulk ball was because they're playing the centre bouncers. Like, we had a good chat about centre bouncer tendencies the other week. So for those interested, again, those four guys had the bulk. Caldwell did not go in there at all, but El Packo, the package, did go in there twice.
That's it.
On Sunday. That's it.
Yeah.
Excluding the Rucks.
Yeah. So
Did
the
he
four
win
mids
any
and Packo
clearances?
twice.
Yeah, that was it. So they did the bulk. So percentage-wise, Merritt 85%, Parrish 81%, and then the sort of split was between Setterfield and Shield, who had 62 and 65% each.
It's interesting. They've dropped his
73.
percentage numbers since the first couple of rounds, Setterfield.
It's interesting looking at this. There's a really good website called DFS Australia, which is like a fantasy site for like Supercoach and stuff. And what's interesting is you can see that every week of those four, one of them's had more. So I would assume that they clearly would go looking at the opposition midfield group and go, all right, who of our group can we, damage them with, basically. So week 1 it was Parrish, week 2 it was Merritt and Setterfield, against St Kilda it was Shield, and then it was Merritt and Parrish this week. Like, it's a different combination just about every single week. So, I'd love to be a fly on a wall for those discussions about how they talk about it, but it's always interesting.
And I think it's good. I'm seeing it from sort of two sides. One, it's very good for consistency, predictability, and these guys get to know each other really well. On the other sort of side of the story, I see Brad Scott wanting to develop players, and that means Archie Perkins not getting any exposure.
Yeah.
And then if Hobbs comes in, does he get to go through there? Because
Caldwell,
I think Caldwell's got that half forward negating sort of high pressure role, but that's probably the one thing I would like. Perkins clearly has a heap of potential.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing him exposed to some more centre bounce attendances.
Yeah, I'd agree. Like, you'll definitely see those guys come up to a stoppage around the ground, especially on the wing. But yeah, would like to see. Caldwell is he's playing the Will Snelling role from a couple of years ago. Just doing a lot of the dirty work, not getting high numbers, but just being valuable with what he does. A good from you, Damo, that we haven't spoken about.
Well, it was probably me admitting I was wrong about BZT and admitting I was wrong about Setterfield.
Yep.
I was right about Weidman.
Early days.
Credit where credit's due to BZT and what he's been able to provide our back six. Because I think you've seen the role that he's enabled Laverde to play. Like, they can now go for a matchup based role rather than Laverde having to definitely take the number one forward, and vice versa. I think Redman and Ridley have been able a lot more freedom, which is really great because it's Kelly's got the shutdown on the dangerous one. And then you got BZT key back, and that's done so much for our back six. I think we don't look anywhere near as vulnerable as what we did last year. And so you can only hope with BZT, Reed, Stewart, guys like that. That's a reasonable sort of full back line to pick from. Fullback players to pick from.
I really liked the spread of work from the defenders this week. Like, we obviously have had games this year where, say, BCT was just heroic. Till that, say, Hawthorn game in round 1, he was just in everything. But it really felt like everyone was contributing, which I really liked. 3 intercept marks to BZT and to Laverde, and then 2 each to Redman and Ridley.
It's really working in tandem well, peeling off really well.
It looked like
intercepting really well.
It looks to me a lot more like a system where if one of these guys goes down, we can bring someone in and it's not going to feel like, oh no, this guy's out, it's all gone to shit. I feel like there's similarities, at least profile-wise to some of the Richmond defenders, and that they've got a lot of those mid-sized sort of guys, like your Vostons, your Grimes, those sort of blokes. And that's just how, when they're at their best, that's how they sort of operate. It's like, right, they did have that real key anchor sort of piece, whether it be Bolter or, oh my God, who's the really good one?
Asprey.
Asprey. No, the other one. He retired. What's his name?
Rance,
thank you.
Tarrant.
Yeah. But like they've got Tarrant. Gee, they've had a lot of good defenders, haven't they? But I don't know, it feels to me like it's a bit more of a system as opposed to you go to him, depending on the match of the week. Because it did, like watching on the telecast, it did seem like there was a lot of times where one of them, like say with Hogan, for instance, like Laverty was on him, then a minute later BZT was on him, and then it was really just like working as this sort of zone structure.
And being a back pocket myself, I always take an interest in how Backline's set up. And one thing that I'll need to give Andy McGrath credit for is a lot of the time when the ball was in our forward half or there was a stoppage on centre wing, I'd often see him leading the finger pointing and not the finger pointing in a negative way, but more like directing constructive sort of structural stuff, and sort of them all aligning to it. So now that they've got like a sort of, I guess, a calm head, from a leadership point of view, that also shows, because it probably would have been Heppel, Hind, and not knocking Hep, but he clearly probably wasn't as good as what McGrath's been this year, and Hind's erratic and at the best of times, so as good as he is. And then I think it just shows on the TV that when balls are going forward for the opposition, we've got a bit more structure to it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that was why we were just able to pin the ball in at times. And hasn't been many times the last few years where it's felt like we've been able to hold the ball in our front half, whereas we did it at lengths there. Like we're definitely doing it at Etihad. Oh, geez, Etihad. It's Marvel now, isn't it? Getting my stadium's mixed up. The Colonial Stadium.
That was the first one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
2000 was Colonial.
Yeah, the glory days. Obviously, now the test is for us to do that on grounds like the G, which is obviously a lot harder to defend. I just want to flag one more good before we talk about.
And you're going to say Jai Menzies, weren't you? For his 8 score involvements and led the game in contested possessions.
I know you were going to say it.
That's a good effort.
I think Jesse's got a second good.
Yeah, I do. No, honestly, he was great. Awesome. He was really good over the weekend.
Yeah, no, he's been a bit of a revelation, and if he was kicking he's kicked a couple of goals in just about every game except for this week, but I think if it was...
He doesn't know how to snap, though, does he?
Yeah,
he always
I think
hits
that needs
the middle of the ball.
Yeah, it needs to be a bit of improvement.
Get some tips off Alwyn and just do it right.
Hi, I'm a forward pocket. I don't know how to snap.
Yeah.
And I'm playing AFL.
Yeah. I'd prefer to play in the midfield. Put me there.
Yeah. I think if it was more of a highlights reel kind of play, I think you'd definitely see a bit more about him in the media. But he's one of those, workman, dogged-like players who just does the dirty stuff.
And he can take a mark. Like you can see over the weekend, there was a couple of instances where he fulfilled his role front and center. But I feel once he builds on a bit more confidence, he's the type of guy that's got a really good leap and can get over the top of a pack. And he might eventually you might start seeing him do that a little more, which I'm praying for. Get there, Jai.
Yeah.
Show us your full potential, son.
Yeah, your man. I just wanted to give a shout out to obviously good friend of the show, Nick Martin.
Beautiful boy.
He was stellar. And I think he's backed up
beautiful boy.
He's such a gorgeous man.
He played a fantastic game last week, and I think he was one of our best again.
24-2
this weekend. Yeah, 24-2 was got that important goal to kind of get momentum going, and like just everything about him. Like his work in traffic is great. His passing is great.
So good.
If he straightens up in front of goal on a regular basis, like he could start pushing himself into some pretty elite areas. I think.
Legit.
With the ground he covers, he's honestly in our top 5 sort of picked, and that might sound a bit silly, but what he provides that wing is massive for us, and he doesn't stop running. Like his work rate's so impressive.
Did they play him more full-time on the wing? It looked like it over the weekend.
It was pretty much like him and Durham.
Because the first couple of rounds, it was more so high half forward by the looks of things.
No, most centre bounces, like he was there.
Yeah, it makes such a big difference to the look of our team when he's on the wing.
Yeah, we pretty much just have 6 midfielders. That's it. They don't move.
Yeah.
They don't come off.
It's 6-6-6, man. That's how it works. The coaches' votes, the Packo got 10, Merritt 7, Redmond 6. He was awesome. Nick Martin 3, and Semi Draper got 2, and then Kelly and Haynes got 1 apiece. So definitely getting recognised there. Nick Martin, as are those other boys. I did just want to talk about a negative, something I feel like is more of just things needs to be worked on as opposed to this is a crisis. But our delivery inside forward 50 from some of our midfielders, I think it needs a lot of work.
Yeah, for sure.
And this isn't a parish bashing segment.
It's everyone. I think Merritt's been really poor this year.
I think a lot of them. I think all of them have at times. But Parish is the one that was very noticeable for me, partly because he had so much of the footy.
Yeah,
and it's hard enough for guys like Jones or Stringer who can just be totally outsized by some defenders. And if you're kicking it over their heads, like there's sometimes I'm like, what do you expect these guys to do? Like, luckily Stringer is a crafty footballer and got the end of it. But like there was a couple of opportunities that I can just picture clearly in my mind where we had guys streaming uncontested just into forward 50, and then the ball just goes over the head of one of our guys.
We make it look really tough to hit a forward target.
Yeah,
we really do.
I went to Collingwood Port Adelaide earlier in the year, and watching their midfielders just hit guys on the lead, on the tit, man, I was like...
Pendles sets the tone, though, in that team with his ball delivery, and Nick Dacos is equally just as good with his delivery.
Both Dacoses are
they've clearly drafted players that kick the ball well, though, and I think that's the difference.
Drafted Menzie.
No, well, they haven't. They haven't actually, and that's what they're going to be their ultimate undoing in their 2025 grand final against Collingwood. But no, you can tell the difference in, I guess, the strategy of the team's recruitment. Like our team hasn't. I mean, I don't think Dodoro has really drafted anyone of note for a while that is a decent kick. Like that's not sort of been their profile, aside from maybe Heppel when he got drafted. That's what his profile was, and we see where that's come along.
Like I'd put
Merritt.
Like Merritt and Martin would probably be our best 2 users around the ground. Would you say?
But did he draft him as a winger? I think he drafted him as a high half forward. So
who knows?
I mean, it's speculative, but I think that's the difference. You can tell. I mean, it's those things, right, where you can kick to the left or the right hand side, and on the left-hand side is the defender, which is kicking to the defender's advantage, and then the right-hand side is the forward. And I feel like every time we kick to the defender's advantage, or it has been.
Their heads. That's usually our strategy.
One of the two.
And understand that like if you're breaking away from a contest, and if you're 30 metres from the 50 line and then you're kicking forward, I understand that you're just trying to get it in quickly. That's fine. But there are the times where we're a lot closer to the 50, and it's like you should be lowering the eyes and either putting us on advantage or hitting someone on the lead. And we did it in the Gold Coast game with Langford. Like I felt like he was getting hit out on the lead, but it did not seem like we did that weekend. And they weren't applying a lot of pressure.
Well, at the game, there was a few times we were streaming forward, and this is me backing the mids up a little bit, that I was actually watching the forward line, their leading patterns, and there was a time where we were streaming forward, and I was watching Jake's movement patterns, and he was clearly the target, but his leading patterns were quite confusing. And I love Jake, and he's definitely not our issue in the forward line, but there was times where I was just like, I wouldn't have loved to being the ball carrier then, because it's like I didn't really know what way Jake was going. And I think the fact we've worked so incredibly hard on our defensive side of the game, Peter Wright's now out, Weedman goes down, and so there's an element of like we lose some of our and our targets and our structure and like how that works. Whereas like Langers clearly his footy IQ is very high. Like is Harry Jones, Jai Menzie, Elwyn Davey, are their footy IQs at the same level that Langford's are, and they're not as experienced.
Well, they've all probably played 70, 80, 50 games less than he has. You know?
And so that's where one thing I would say is like I'll probably give our mids and our ball movement a bit more time to develop. Plus the other benefit is we're not bombing it high and long as much as what we used to. That's the other thing I think is quite pleasing.
But 17 intercept marks from Nick Haynes and the previous week.
Seven, not 17.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
Was it 7?
No. Haynes had 6. Taylor had 4. Callahan
He had 17 marks, sorry.
17 marks.
I didn't,
6 were intercepts.
Yeah.
That, and then off the back of last week, it was pretty similar. Like if we go into versing Melbourne with Lever and May and we play the way that we play, we are going to be in a lot of trouble.
And like, don't get me wrong, like it's certainly an area for improvement, but I think that comes with a bit of time together, and also like some consistency with the players you're kicking it to. Stringer's been in for 3 weeks. Wright's gone. Weedman's new to the club. Yeah, Jones has been up and down, and he's clearly not a focal point. So
was Packo doing his trademark stand and then point it towards the goal?
Yeah, there was a few times like he did do that, but he had a lot. He had a lot of space. So him just standing still is almost going to make the defender shit himself more. Yeah, in a way. So it wasn't necessarily a bad thing because he gets away with it with his strength. I'm certainly agreeing with you, Jesse.
He didn't really kick to space enough though. Like I remember there was this one entry in the last quarter where Parrish had it at about 65 out, sort of right near where the 50 would be.
Yeah.
And Packo was standing there.
So he was 65 out and he was right near the 50.
Like where the
he was 15 metres away from the 50.
Like I mean the angle, you smart ass.
Right.
So he's on about a 45 degree angle.
Bro.
On about a 45 degree angle. Picture this, listeners.
Yeah. So was the angle obtuse or obtuse? I need to know.
What are we saying there, smart Damo?
I don't have a clue.
I'm going to say obtuse.
Obtuse. I don't have a clue. I know human anatomy.
The long and the short of it was that Packo had pretty much everyone goal side of him, and he was pointing to Parrish to kick to the space, to the fat side, and Parrish just kicked straight on top of his head. And you look at it, and I think that Parrish actually meant to kick it on his head. Like there was an obvious, like I feel like a lot of footballers at a lower level would be smart enough to know that there was a paddock of 25 metres of space to kick to.
Yeah.
But I just think that there's some footballers that don't have the IQ
and I think you're right. We probably need to be better with getting the ball in the right people's hands.
Yeah.
Like your Martins and Merritt and things like that going forward, because I think you're right. We've probably given Parrish a decent chunk of time.
There was 1 year he was good in his All-Australian year.
Yeah.
But other than that, he's been
it's certainly like he's working on his defensive game, but his disposal going forward is certainly another aspect he needs to get better at.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's the thing that's holding him back from being a very good midfielder, which he is, to one of the absolute top echelon. Like I know he had an All-Australian year, but if he has that game on the weekend, which he did with his clearance work and how much he got the ball, he got a heap of intercept possessions as well. If he adds hitting guys regularly,
like
inside
4
50,
or 5 goal assists or something,
this is a guy who's in a contract here, getting Lewis from the clubs. This is where you go from being a guy who gets offered $700K to close to $1 million.
Yeah.
If you add that to your game.
Statistically, would you be able to look up what his kicking efficiency is?
Yes.
Even for like kicking efficient, and
I'll show you how to do it on the AFL website.
And even like whether it's for Sunday or whether it's for the whole year, I'd be curious to see, because like your elite guys are probably going above 70%. If he's over 70, it'll be egg on my face.
Yeah, like it's like when you have so much of the footy, it's always going to be hard. So for 2023, he's going at 57.5% by foot.
Yeah.
Was 21 his All-Australian year? Or
it would have been
21 or 20. So he went at 62.2 that year. I can pull up the actual games. So,
but that's probably
So here's this, and again, not a Parrish bashing segment. We're discussing it.
I love him.
So
just worth the chat.
66.7 against the Giants. He went at 35% against St Kilda. I mean, a lot of people had awful nights. He was 68% against the Suns, and then 59 against the Hawks. Like, over 60s is really where you want to be. High, like in the 70s is elite.
Yeah.
And obviously these stats can get padded out by, the little just side kicks.
Yeah.
It's why defenders always have, it's like, oh, wow, he went by 80% by foot. It's like,
so Dyson Hevel went at 100.
Yeah,
Joking. I love you, Dyson.
When they're 20 metres sideways kicks, it's very easy to pad the stats.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's why your 70 is your elite of the elite. And that's probably my next challenge to Darcy is, because he's clearly working hard on his defensive game. is because he does break away from packs. He does get the ball moving forward. He does take territory. If that's 58, 60% can become 65, 70, as you said, he becomes a very, very, very good footballer.
Yeah, exactly.
Like looking at some midfielders here, a lot of them are sort of in and around that. Like Clayton Oliver's going at 51%.
That's his weakness. Like Clary,
Patrick Cripps is going at 43. But then you look at someone like Dacos, who's playing, he's averaging 34.5. He's leading the comp for disposals on average, and he's going at 84.2. But he kind of plays a bit more off half back. So, but still, that goes to show that it isn't just about the amount of touches that you get, because he's going at almost 90% and he's leading the comp for disposals.
And I think, that's probably our point is like Parrish. Like Clary for me is like get ball, put it on the boot, move it forward out of a stoppage. Darcy does get a bit more ball in hand in the open. But it's purely just like you're a very good player right now. You can be very, very good if you sort of tweak some of that.
We ask for a lot. Yeah, that's what we're pretty much getting at.
Yeah, you may as well call us like Footy Classified 2.0. We can be more negative.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm Caroline Wilson, and we'll be back after the break. Well, actually, and on that, I think it's time we take a break. We'll be back with some hot takes. Unfortunately, Paul is in absentia this evening, so we won't be chatting VFL, although I'm sure the Borax and the Dimmies were bloody brilliant in Preston on Sunday. I wanted to hear all about them, but we'll speak to the great man next time. So after the break, hot takes. This halftime break is brought to you by Liquorland. Pop into your local Liquorland today and pick up all of your favourite drinks. Damo, have you been down to Liquorland lately?
I've actually been 3 times this year, Rob, after every win so far.
Love that.
So it's always a joyous moment when I walk in the doors and the staff are fabulous and the drinks are cold, and I love it.
Beautiful. Liquorland have all your drinks needs for when the siren calls. Liquorland, from the land you love. Please drink responsibly. Welcome back to Footy Classified here on the Sash podcast. Just before we get into some hot takes, this was a stat that popped up just before we went to air. According to whatever stats show it was, I think it was the one on SEN, Kyle Langford is the best kick in the competition. He's kicking 17% above league average. So it just justifies
For
how
goal.
good he is. No, I think just around the ground.
17. Isn't Dacos going at 84%?
Yeah, apparently Langford's better.
At 101%.
I don't know. Well, this isn't my stat. It's from another show.
Bloody Footy Classified for you. Tune off. Go to bed.
Yeah.
DFS.
Yeah. Exactly. So
Go to bed, you bloody F and C's.
yeah, let's go to hot
Your
takes.
fish and chips.
Let's go to hot takes. As always, language warning on this segment. So, kids in cars, children in general, time to switch off. We'll see you next week. Let's get stuck into them. This is going to be an extended version because we've got a bit of time without Paul. So, a lot of people are going to make the cut this week. So, well done to all of you. First one is from Craig. Oh, thank you, Craigo.
Yeah, g'day guys. Long time listener, first time caller. Just sort of, hang on, someone's at the door. Just check this at the door. Oh my God, it's the package. It's the fucking package. Are you kidding me? Just casual talk from 60 metres. No fucking problem. Go Bombers.
Love that, Craig.
Pretty good.
Love that.
Pretty good.
Setting the tone. We love some tone setting here on the Sash.
And you Craig.
Couple too many chocolate eggs for Craig, I think, over the weekend.
Yeah.
Sure.
You and me both, brother. Next one is from Stop Yelling at Me, Devon.
Guys, bit disappointing today. I thought Hoople had a shocking game. Jack Strenger kicked 4 goals, but he could have had a better game. Lingford, do we know if he plays forward or back? I think we've just got to put him in the midfield where someone like him belongs. Shield was quite good, but I thought he would be better in defence. Mick Narton, I thought he had a fantastic game, but look, really disappointed that Essendon didn't get the 4 points today. But credit to the Bombers, they just got up over the Plains today. Let's see Essendon come back against the Demons next week. Cheers, boys.
There's a lot of sarcasm in that.
It really reminds me, I don't know if you guys ever played this on PlayStation 2, but it was the Ricky Ponting cricket game. And they didn't have the name right.
The copyrights.
Yeah, like McGrath, Warneth.
And Gillespie was Giuseppe.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was living in the Ricky Ponting 2003 cricket game just then.
Great game.
It actually was a ripper.
That was a ripper game. Next one is from Packo is my daddy.
Oh, boys, what a weekend. What a weekend. Get to watch Adesanya knock the life out of Alex Pereira. And then I get to watch Packo drop a 55-metre bazza on the run on those orange fucking dogs. And it's the best day of my young, sad, Bomber supporting life. Holy shit. Cheers, boys.
He's up and about, that bloke.
Who's he kidding? He's fucking sound like Stringer's grandfather. How old was he?
I don't know.
Young. How old? How many years you lived on this earth,
Smoked
Chief?
a million darts by the sound of him as well.
Yeah.
Not sure.
Packo's son. Sounds about right.
Not sure.
Dart smoker.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Do you guys watch UFC?
Yeah, I did. I didn't watch it over the weekend, but
Do you watch it?
Nah, I saw the celebration after Adesanya beat that bloke. It was pretty brutal.
yeah, he's someone else, that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know anything about it, but it's always interesting to watch a guy get put on his ass. So,
Yeah.
no. Next one's from Ethan. Thank you, Ethan.
Yeah, thank fuck. We got that ugly win today. Jesus Christ. 11 goals, 23 or something like that was disgusting, but we got the win, which is all that matters. But all I care about is bring Pat Voss in, for God's sake. Like, what's stopping us from bringing him in? Sam Wiedemann got concussed today, thus he's not going to be playing next week. Why can't we bring him in? And, like, especially on the day like today where, other than Jake Stringer, who was only, like, multiple goal kicker for our big forwards and all that, Langford only one, Jones none, Wiedemann obviously played less than a quarter, so he's going to do fuck all. But, like, still, like, bring him in. Like, obviously, yes, you can argue, he's a different body type. He's not going to be, like, that key tall position player like Peter Wright, for example, because he doesn't have the height for it. But still, here's something Harry Jones doesn't do. Fucking actually makes a contest, for God's sake. Like, I mean, obviously, yes, fair enough that Harry, a 30-gamer on someone like Sam Taylor, who's an All-Australian, obviously is not going to go his way, but Jesus. I thought Harry did play better today, but, like, Jesus, we need to install some confidence into him somehow. You had 2 marks inside 50. One, he played on rush to hand pass, and the other, pass it to Menzies, who he just missed as well, like all of our other teammates. But, yeah. Also, that fucking Packo goal was orgasmic. Holy shit.
Any thoughts on that one? What was that noise?
Sound like he's chewing gum or something.
It sounded like it was like clicking a lighter in the background. I couldn't quite work out what that was.
Jeez, it's a weird image.
Any thoughts on any of those points, Jess?
I think he's right about Jonesy just lacking a bit of confidence. It's pretty evident with the way that he's playing. It almost seems as if it's epitomising the role that he's playing. It seems like he's playing a very team-oriented role.
Yeah.
That's not, him being the rock star and putting the game on his shoulders. I feel a big part of it also, if you look back to probably the best game that he played, which was almost debatable, but the 2 Hawthorn games that he's played, the one in his first game, round 1, 2021.
Where he kicked 4 behinds.
Yeah. And also the game in Tassie. I feel like he was a bit of a focal point in both those games. He was the go-to man. And I'm not sure as a junior if he played centre-half forward or not, but it's the hardest position on the ground to play, and he hasn't played much footy. So I think he's got to give him a bit of time. I'm more chips into just keeping him in the team for now, to be honest. It's not like we're tilting for a premiership, so we may as well develop some young players whilst we can.
Yeah. Especially while the guys are injured. I mean, if Peter and Weeds were available for the Melbourne game, we might be having a different discussion, but that's just not the case. So
yeah, I think you raise a good point, Jess. Is like he needs time, but then you weigh up like, do you put time of him just like not gaining confidence at that level, and at what cost? Like how much does that damage him? Well, I certainly agree. Like he's definitely got potential. He's not a bad player. He's not someone I want to delist by any means, but I just feel like he needs a bit of a confidence boost or just that breakout game. We're all screaming out for that breakout game.
yeah.
But as far as I'm concerned, we've got 3 options with going in our forward line. It's Ruck, a resting ruck, Stringer, Jones, and Voss this week, or you can go Ruck, Stringer, Langford, Jones, or you can go Ruck, Stringer, Langford, and Voss.
Yeah.
And so, what option would you have? Because you got obviously Caldwell, Menzies, and Davey as our small forwards, and that seems to be working. What do you guys see as that like four that you'd like to see?
Well, in the
this week?
wet, or you'd almost prefer to have Langford behind the ball this week.
Yeah.
Is the way that I'm leaning, and
Yeah.
then bringing Voss in if that's the case.
Yeah. I mean, we sort of spoke about it earlier, but I feel like if it's going to be bucketing down rain, maybe Voss is a better option, and it's a good time for Jones to have a spell. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's a real hard call. I mean, like I feel like we've been speaking about it just about every single week. Like, what is the right balance? It's just a hard one. Next one is from Luke Parker Scum. Thanks, mate.
Yeah, just a little quickie. Dylan Shield. That about fucking sums it up. Just fucking Dylan Shield. Oh my god.
I think that's a happy. Oh my god. I'm assuming.
A lot of heavy breathing at the start of that. It's concerning.
Yeah, I really enjoy these ones where someone goes like they speak and then there's like a minute of it's like what are you guys doing?
But was that positive or negative?
I think that was positive.
Nah, it was positive.
I think it was.
positive.
Next one is from. Speaking of Harry Jones, this one's from.
It's almost like a backhanded compliment, I think.
Yeah,
Like, about time. Oh, you're good.
yeah.
But he didn't say any of those things.
No.
This one's from Harry Rooster Jones.
Yeah, boys. I was just thinking about Harry Jones, and he's a big rooster, and roosters. I think they go like gobble gobble, and if Harry could just gobble gobble a few more marks up in the forward 50 and roost some of those set shots, boys. When he gets his confidence back up, I believe. I'm a Harry Jones believer. Don't be a Harry Jones denier. Get on him. A big rooster.
Well, turkey's gobble gobble to begin with, but I do agree with your sentiments there,
So
Mr. Rooster.
So we're calling Harry Jones turkey from now on.
Nah, I feel like
The Turk.
the Turk. I don't,
Gobble gobble.
Does he ever put on size, or does he stay like a Hipwood type?
I pray he puts on size.
He has to, surely. But he hasn't put on any size since he's got to the club. Like maybe
a little
an
bit,
ounce.
Yeah.
an ounce. I'm sure it's nothing that's visually noticeable from the stands or
Yeah.
watching on TV. Like I'm sure if I'm close, you might.
Is he
notice.
20? He's 21.
21 or 22.
You'd be so happy to see him trying to tackle you if you were a key defender.
He was 22.
Bring it on.
He turned 22 in Feb.
Okay.
And he's 196 and 88 kilos. So, for context sake, he's 13 centimetres taller than me and weighs less than I do, according to Wikipedia. So,
But you're strong.
I'm huge.
What
Like,
are your proportions on Wikipedia? Are they up to date?
Up to date.
My BMI says I'm morbidly obese. But
Yeah.
yeah, you'd sort of want to see him change his body shape in the next year or two. But all of last year he was injured. So he should have been in the gym getting Mahusive.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
So, and the way he moves, he's wiry, he's athletic, he's a running type. He's not like that bigger frame. He doesn't have a huge sort of set of shoulders on him either.
No.
To put much on. Like at least Joe Danaher had shoulders.
Yeah.
So it was a matter of time. But yeah, I'm not expecting a huge body composition change.
Yeah. Maybe you can get in the gym with Jake Kelly for a little bit. Might be good.
Smart.
Next one is from Garrett from Canada. I haven't had Garrett Simon in for a while, so this will be good.
Good afternoon, gents. What a game yesterday. It was a big day for myself as well. I had my second child. Child came before the show that was put on by Jake Stringer, so I wasn't able to change the name to Jake. A hell of a game by him. A little bit inaccurate for the other boys, but you could just tell we were pressing the whole time. Flip looked great out there. Even Heppel, when he came on, I was a bit shocked that he was included at all. But I'm nervous to say he played a good game because I know what's going to happen next week. But all around, Another victory for the boys. Start of the season's looking good. Up the plains.
That's awesome.
I love that. Do we know his backstory? Or do we need to get him on?
Nah.
Surely for a bit of a video call.
He sent no, 'cause he sent one in last year, and I think he explained. I'm trying to remember. Either he came to Australia and then watched it, or an Australian mate introduced him to the game, picked up. I think he was in Australia for a period, picked up the game, started going for Essendon, and then moved back to Canada. But Garrett, I'll let you know, you can go back on a kid's name, so you can quite easily just tell your lovely partner that it's Jake now.
So he missed the game for the birth of his child.
Yeah.
Then had time to watch the game.
Yeah.
And send us a hot take.
Yeah.
When his baby's the first 48 hours of his child's life.
He's got his priorities in the right place.
Huge kudos to the guy. He has a very understanding partner.
Yeah, I'm assuming in like the windows of like baby and partner probably being asleep, he's like, all right, I'll get a quick quarter in, and then back to attending, another quarter, back to attending, another quarter, back to attending.
No, huge fan of Garrett.
Yeah, that was a great one.
Very good. Next one is from Matt. Thank you, Matt.
Geez, I love following the Plains. Who would want to watch a 60-point drubbing when we can watch our side kick 22 behinds and have a nail-biter? We're privileged Essendon supporters. I really enjoyed it. But I tell you what, lads, very pleased to see the package return. Packo, 10 shots on goal, second game back. Once he gets going, we could be in for a big year. The only challenge is young Jonesy. Maybe he needs to look a bit like Vanderhaar and have a few VBs before the game and a couple of hamburgers. Because at the moment,
Oh, that one cut off. Sorry. Not sure what happened there. Yeah. Beers and hamburgers pre-game. That's how I used to play amateurs footy. And if you ask anyone from St Mary's
Baffled you never did anything with your footy, Rob.
Yeah. If you ask anyone who played for St Mary's Salesian when I was there, I may have been the worst player to ever play for the club. Thank you, Matt. But sorry, that one cut off.
What do we read into percentage? Because our percentage has been pretty good for the year. I mean, we're sitting in the top 4 teams in the league, I think, percentage-wise. We're actually the third highest team percentage-wise for the year.
I would say ask me again in a month.
Yeah.
I think is the accurate thing, because we're going to play some tough games and we're not going to win all 4 the next month. Yeah. But I think that the improvement will show that is, do you go down in a close game or does a team put you to the sword? And then obviously if you get some wins on top of that, that'll sort of correct itself. So yeah, ask me in a month if percentage means anything for us.
Because I think Scott said after the game, they said, oh, you're currently 3rd or 4th on the ladder, and what do you think? And he's like, I don't look at the ladder until round 6. Yeah, and so it means nothing. And as you said, Rob, it's what. Melbourne, Collingwood, Geelong, Brisbane, Port, Richmond. Yeah. And I'm not sure the last 3 order, but that's 6 pretty big games.
Yeah.
And the only good team we've played, we've lost to, really.
Yeah,
which is St Kilda.
Yeah. Our 3...
So it's a pretty good snapshot.
Lead.
Yeah.
God.
Our 3 wins are against sides who, even though we're not talking about the ladder, are in the bottom 4 of the ladder. So
really?
Yeah.
Far out. Yeah. I think I might travel overseas to where Garrett is and just not watch football for a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not great.
A few more to go. Next one's from Blair. Thank you, Blair.
Morning, legends. Blair here. Thanks very much for the tickets to Medallion Club as part of your competition that you run. It was good to get a message from the real Sash opposed to the spam, but much appreciated. Really enjoyed the day. Obviously got the chocolates on Easter Sunday. A few things that I liked about the game was I liked that our stoppages, we really started to cut them up as the game went on, and it got a bit closer. I really liked, and I was a big critic of him, was Hairpool. Hairpool going half back and was actually quite effective and well played. Always happy to be proven wrong. I guess aside from that, just constructive things. I think our forward line is just taking a little bit to click. Obviously, Stringer kicking a few always helps, but we'll get there. Wiedemann out structurally affects us a little bit, but it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next 3 weeks. Like if we can get, 1 or 2 scalps, it sets us up for a pretty good second half of the year. So, looking forward to it. Thanks again, guys, for the tickets. I'm a little bit hungover as well, so it was a good day. Thanks very much.
There we go. There was Blair. just to prove that I did actually give some tickets away. Just putting that in there. But yeah, glad Blair got to enjoy a win. And some great points there as well. Let's keep moving through these because it's getting close for us to be getting out of the studio. All right, next one is from Damon Loxton. Thank you, Damon.
Let's go Essendon. I can see this year's going to be a good one, boys. New coach. Looking good. Go, Brad Scott. Let's go, Bombers.
Woo! Oh, that's really cute. I can't wait to see this guy posting on the funeral in 3 weeks when we lose the next 3 weeks by 100 points.
And then his kid chimes in, sack Brad Scott.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Damon. I hope your child does not listen to this segment because it's definitely not appropriate for them. 2 to go. Braden from South Australia. Hopefully you're heading to the game next weekend, Braden.
As a self-confessed Dyson Heppel bagger, I am happy to sit here and eat my own words. What a roller coaster of emotions I went through just before the footy. Dyson Heppel named in the squad, I'm fucking spewing. Dyson Heppel named as the sub, fucking happy. Dyson Heppel subbed in earlier than expected, fucking devastated. Dyson Heppel comes out on the field, 19 disposals at 100% efficiency. Up the plains.
He's happy with himself there, Braden. Happy to be proven wrong.
That is a roller coaster of emotions for the big fella.
Heppel does thrive when teams that we play against have a pressure gauge of about 139, like below, very, very below, like VFL standard pressure. He seems to thrive well in those conditions.
Yeah, no, had a good game, old Heps, and we're very, very happy for him. Last one from our friend, it's Lid equal loose is the name now. It was lid off, then lid on. If you haven't been listening to the last few shows, Damo, this person's been playing some songs for us, which has been quite good. And this is a new original piece by this gentleman. It's called Packo on My Mind.
Packo, I've got you on my mind. Maybe you don't even know how much we need you in our side. Promise you won't ever go. I won't take no from you this time. Packo, we've got you on our mind. Now, baby, put on a show. Get you back to and fro. 'Cause I think I know what you're gonna do. I hope you're feeling the way we're feeling. I hope you're feeling the way we're feeling too. Oh, Packo.
That was very good.
I like how mediocre he is at playing the guitar. It makes it so much better. Missing every second note makes it so much better. And please don't ever play songs perfectly again, if you're going to post.
Are you a guitarist?
No, but I know what the song sounds like, and it's not that.
Yeah. Did that guitar sound like it needed tuning or something?
Yeah. It definitely did. Maybe he was hitting all the notes, but they
sound like loose strings.
Very, very.
That was awesome, though. Lyrics are great.
Yeah.
That was super.
Yeah, that was phenomenal. So this gentleman's putting together a nice little album.
He's trying to get on the end of year live show, isn't he?
Yeah, because who we had? Because we had Big Wet Plane last week, and then what was the first one that he did? I can't remember.
I thought that was the first. The Big Wet Plane.
He did one before that and we won. I'm just trying to remember which one it was. I've just got to go back and there's so many of these that have been sent through.
Imagine if we got him on that live show. That would be hilarious.
Yeah.
That would be so good.
Yeah, well, TBC on that because venue hire is extortionary at the moment. So
could be just a backyard blitz. Just get a backyard session going.
It could just be the Sash Christmas party with this 5 of us and no one else there because every venue in Victoria wants to charge me $10,000 to hire it out. So
just get him with the guitar the whole time. Play Big Wet Plane again.
Yeah, do it, brother.
Play it again.
Play it again. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, thank you everyone who sent through a hot take. We appreciate it as always. TBC on whether or not we're doing an event or not. Trying to put some things in the works, but I don't want to have to run an event where I have to sell $60 tickets because I just don't want to do that. So let's see what happens.
What was the going price in your head?
like $30. Like there's gonna be a guest as well, but like the $30 covers the guest and the venue. But then I've been getting quotes from all these different places from like whether it be like 50 people up to 100 people, and I'm like, how can you charge this much? Like how much do you expect me to like offer like tickets to people for? Like so, yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. It might happen. It might not. We might just wait for a recession, everyone to take less money. Take less money. Anyway, we'll see what happens.
By the way, Bunnings sausages have gone up from $1 to $3.50 for anyone that has made the trip down there.
When were they $1? I thought they were like $2.
Well, that's still 150% markup.
Yeah, all right, fair
it's
enough.
a lot.
Fair enough.
That's good data.
Thank you.
Jesse.
I didn't buy one, by the way, in protest. I actually walked past and shook my fist.
You're listening to Footy Classified. Jesse and Jesse with the finance report. Thank you.
New Koshi.
Yeah, the new Koshi. Getting our TV networks mixed up there. All right, let's wrap up for an evening. Jesse, thank you for coming by.
Thanks for having me.
Good to see you. Damo, thanks for coming to the studio.
Great studio. I loved it. It was awesome.
How'd you feel under the lights? It's a bit different to the cave we've been in the past. What'd you think?
Well, I got very accustomed to doing this over Zoom and not wearing pants and in my bedroom. So, no, this has been lovely. Derek, you've been super. Thank you.
There we go. The great man, Derek, Castaway Studios. Listeners, Thursday's show is going to be available to everyone because Mert and I will be here with our friends from the Debrief who we share this studio with. So we're going to be in here to hang a bit of shit on each other as we like to do in preparation for an Essendon D's match. So that'll be available to everybody this week. And then we'll see you next Monday for a review, hopefully positive. Mert, myself, and Kingo will be in Adelaide for Gather Round, what we're calling the Fill on the Hill. So it's going to rain 20 mils of rain, and we were planning on standing on the hill and, having a large day. It's not looking good right now, I'll be honest.
Wow. That's going to be grim. Will there be many people there?
Can I bring an umbrella to the footy? Is that allowed?
No.
I mean, I'm going to.
It's a weapon.
All right. If it's a small one?
No, there's a reason why people have ponchos.
Yeah. All right.
Is that actually not allowed to, for sure?
It's a weapon. And then you struck people's view.
Yeah.
What if I bring a gazebo in and then we just set it up and then we can get like 20 people under it?
You're a smart guy. That's stupid.
Yeah. Someone outside the stadium will have a gazebo and we'll take the gazebo in.
Do we have any idea as to attendance? Do they have any?
Well, it's sold out.
So is it sold out?
Yeah. The game's sold out.
Really?
Well,
it's massive.
I think
huge. That makes it more fun. If it's sold out and it's raining, at least that's better.
I have a feeling though that
not if your seat's not covered.
Yeah.
Well,
this is the thing.
It's the atmosphere, mate. You're in war.
I got for some reason my ticket got upgraded to a reserve seat in the nosebleeds, but Merton Kingo's didn't. So if it gets too bad, I might just go sit by myself and stay dry.
Grim.
So,
whilst we're losing by 65 points.
Yeah.
What's the forecast for the entire weekend? Because obviously Saturday's bad.
Maybe they're taking all of our wet
my
weather.
concern is how does Adelaide Oval hold up?
Yeah. So look, it's from Friday showers 6 mil. Saturday is now 5 to 25 mil, 90% chance of rain, local heavy falls possible. Sunday will be down. So I have a feeling, though, that the ticket gets you into both our game and then the Port Adelaide game after. So I think that's why it's sold out. So there's a fair chance that there's going to be nobody there while it's getting,
because of the Port crowd.
Yeah, so the Port crowd will probably roll in later. So if the storm hits in the afternoon, it could be pretty miserable scenes on television. But if there's not many people there, you will see.
Make yourself known on the hill.
You will see.
We want to see you.
You will see 3 saturated blokes, myself, King, and Mert. Yeah. Look, we haven't. I know we've got planes, beanies, and scarves, but I might have to get a planes, waterproof jacket,
poncho.
Yeah, sorted by the weekend. So looking forward to that.
Planes poncho with actual wings coming outside. You can put your arms out. It'd be so good.
Yeah.
What is it, like paraglide or something into the stadium?
Yeah, actually. Try and paraglide out as well.
That'll be good. So thanks everyone for listening. If you want to become a premium member, you can find the links in our show description, YouTube channel, YouTube YouTube's going as well, which has been good. Thanks to everyone who's subscribed. Got 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is amazing. And I think that's about it. Yeah, buy some merch. Helps us afford things like going to Adelaide. And yeah, that's about it for an evening. Gentlemen.
Good Sash.
Thanks for having us.
Up the plains. Go Bombers. Liquorland are proud partners of the Sash for another season of footy. Thanks to Liquorland for their fantastic sponsorship of the show. You can pop into your local Liquorland today or shop online for all your favourite drinks. 30-minute click and collect is available. Liquorland, from the land you love. Please drink responsibly.